Obviously, it's hard to keep track of the Trump administration's lawlessness. It's my job to follow it, and frankly, I'm overwhelmed. That said, a few specific instances really do stand out. Probably the most chilling single act, of course, was the seizing of a lawful permanent U.S. resident without charging him with a crime or even saying he did anything wrong other than exercising his protected political speech. It's an awful weaponization of the tools of the state, and it's not the only weaponization of that system. Right now, Trump's FBI is trying to, and you read that right, criminalize groups like Habitat for Humanity for receiving grants from the EPA under President Biden. So here's how this works. The story revolves around $20 billion in grants for clean energy programs. It was issued to 8 nonprofits through the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund, which was seeded with money by Congress in the Inflation Reduction Act, passed in both houses, signed by the president. It's a law, right? Those groups got the money from federal grants and then set to lend out those funds to communities and businesses for energy improvement projects. The money was for small loans, so stuff like weatherizing an office building or a home, right, making it more energy efficient. But then Trump's EPA chief, former Republican Congressman Lee Zeldin, pushed a right-wing conspiracy theory the grants were a giveaway to far-left political groups. He claimed Biden officials somehow broke the law in dispersing the funds to Citibank to give to the nonprofits. And who wouldn't be suspicious of the groups who got this money? Groups that not only include Habitat for Humanity International, but also the United Way worldwide? Yes, that United Way from the football commercials. As well as Appalachia Coal and Energy Communities and Underserved America LLC, which serves communities that voted overwhelmingly for Donald Trump. And of course, that notorious hotbed of dangerous far-left radicalism, the New York State Department of Taxation and Finance. Okay, so Zeldin is accusing all of these groups of engaging in fraud. He promised to claw back the money, but to be clear, it wasn't his money. It was in their bank accounts at Citibank, and he had no legal way of doing it. It wasn't his. So Trump's interim U.S. attorney for D.C., former Jan 6 defense lawyer Ed Martin, asked the top prosecutor in his office, a career prosecutor, to open a criminal investigation of these groups and seize the funds. And you know what she did? She refused. And she resigned instead. And she said in her resignation letter there was no evidence of a crime, which is plainly true. Then Martin personally submitted a seizure warrant application for the money without any other prosecutors in his office, presumably because no one would sign on to it. And get this, a magistrate judge, the kinds of people that review these warrants all the time, rejected his application. They basically never do this. They said there was no evidence of a crime. And despite all that, somehow, clearly not legally, in my humble estimation, the funds were frozen. Court filings show Citibank froze the money at the FBI's request. And FBI said the funds were subject to an ongoing criminal investigation. They sent letters to Citi saying, you should freeze these accounts. So several of the nonprofits are now suing. A federal judge in that case, Tanya Chutkan, sounded pretty skeptical of the government's arguments in court this week, telling a Trump administration lawyer, quote, you can't even tell me what the evidence of malfeasance is. She ordered them to show the court evidence for their claims of fraud by Monday. Now, however those lawsuits shake out, think about this. The Justice Department and the FBI have already committed a monumental abuse of power. Okay? We're now living in America where Trump's top FBI officials, Kash Patel, and Dan Bongino, can move to unilaterally freeze a bank account they want with a letter, doctor up a criminal investigation to justify it.